G'day there guys, Beard Markee here to save you from the tyranny of no beard Markee. Just kidding, run. G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, beardless Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now, if you love today's bloody good stories, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on that barbie, and get ready for some good content. Let's go. Am I the asshole for wanting to walk into my first home without my wife? So my wife, 25 female, and I, 27 male, have been married for 6 months now. I have a good job in sales and have managed to save enough to get together a deposit for a house. It is true that my parents have helped me out quite a bit too financially. My wife has not been employed very consistently. She's worked as a model but hasn't saved much at all. I bought the house and the estate agent handed over the keys to me. My wife wasn't there at the handover, and I was obviously super excited to show her the house and for us to start our lives together. We drove up to this house yesterday, and I said to her while we sat in the car outside, "Is it okay if I go in alone first, just so I can have a moment alone in my first home?" I felt that it was a significant moment in my life, and I wanted to experience it alone, even if just for 30 seconds. My wife was upset about this and has been off with me ever since. We've moved some of our stuff in, but she's clearly pissed. I think she's being selfish. My brother says I'm being ridiculous. Personally, yeah, I do think that what you are doing here is an asshole move. In some way, I can get why you would want to do that yourself, but then I think, wouldn't that be more inspiration to share such a special moment with your wife? Wouldn't you want to do that with her? That is something that you want to experience together. How is your selfishness in this situation overriding the bond that you share with your wife? It seems like you don't care about her all too much through this action, because any normal person wouldn't do what you've done here. My judgment is you're the asshole for this one. Now in the comments, Brilliant Jewel192 says, "You're the asshole, and you know what else? Since it's your house, you get to do all the cleaning, maintenance, etc. She's just a dumb model, so she probably couldn't figure those things out anyway, hey?" Leeching off the top comment to say, "I'm in a very similar boat as OP. My husband and I just bought our first house. I did the majority of it. I started my own business right before the world stopped last year. That business paid for the down payment. 0 came from anyone else. His much smaller paycheck helped with the day-to-day and monthly bills. I made the down payment money. I saved the money, I sacrificed, scrimped, and saved. I called the brokers, I set up the showings and dealt with the realtor, the lawyers, the paperwork, the movers, changing the addresses and utilities. You name it, I did it. He came to the showings and wanted to put an offer on everything. So I also talked him down a bunch of times. We walked into the house holding hands, and I would never ask him to wait outside and let me have that moment to myself. You're the asshole. Right? My wife and I are thinking we might finally be able to buy a house next year. I work, she manages the money, and I 100% would not be in the financial position to do this without her. Much less would I be able to tackle all of the research about the neighborhoods, and where it floods, and where it doesn't, and how to get her mother moved here too. If we do get the keys, I'm probably going to insist that she be the one to open the door and walk in first, considering that I wouldn't be here without her. Just Killing Time 99 says, "You're the asshole. Why did you get married if you don't want to experience life with your wife?" My thoughts exactly. It's like the wife has a supporting role in the motion picture starring OP. She has to be invited into the home that she's going to live in because it sounds like she hadn't even been to the place before closing. Please value her more, and if you realize you don't or can't, reevaluate your marriage. And Zealand Red Squirrel says, "You're the asshole. It is a big moment for you, probably for her too. Even if it's not a big moment for her, sharing in each other's big moments is usually a big part of marriage. You telling her to wait in the car is a huge and unnecessary slight. Why are you even married if you're still thinking in terms of mine and yours?" I think now it might be a big moment for her. The moment she realized she's married a guy who wants to be single. Our next post is by user ConversationTall4735, titled, Am I the asshole for kicking my mother-in-law out of family dinner after she said my lasagna tasted like freezer lasagna? So my mother-in-law is a fairly typical passive-aggressive mother-in-law. Nice to my face, but the food is only ever fine. She purses her lips at my parenting, and she plays favorites with her sons. One big issue I have is that my food is only ever fine, but everything my sister-in-law cooks is heaven sent. My sister-in-law married the favorite son and gives mother-in-law unlimited access to the grandkids. We had a big family dinner the other night, and my husband brought up how she is about my food. He said it in the kitchen out of earshot of mother-in-law. Brother-in-law decided to do a test and had father-in-law, her ex, cover her eyes and asked her to try something. Now, first of all, there was literally 10 minutes of back and forth about her being convinced it was a cockroach, so by the time she got it in her mouth, it was probably cold. Then there was some shrieking because they were laughing, so she was convinced they did something to her. And then more shrieking because she wanted her eyes uncovered. So father-in-law finally let her go and she said it was fine. It tasted like frozen lasagna. Brother-in-law shrugged and said, "Sorry, I guess she doesn't like your cooking." Mother-in-law asked if I cooked it, giggled, and said they shouldn't have put her on the spot. Everyone was laughing, and I was just over it. I said that was what I cooked for dinner, and if she didn't like it, she could leave. Mother-in-law said it was fine, and her new husband tried to make a joke that it was better than cockroaches, but that didn't go over well. I said she should leave, and she acted all confused. Mother-in-law left with her husband, and brother and sister-in-law went after them. Father-in-law defended her and said I was being too sensitive, but my husband took my side and said she can't come back until she apologized. Now sister-in-law and brother-in-law are saying I set her up. I'm a crybaby, and I just wanted a reason to kick her out. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. It was kind of a setup, and everyone put her on the spot. She wasn't intentionally rude, and maybe I was too sensitive because frozen lasagna isn't the worst insult. I kicked her out and caused drama and a divide in the family. I think you've done the wrong thing in this instance. I do think that you were acting over the top, and that, yeah, frozen lasagna, that hurts to hear, but she was put on the spot, and what do you expect her to say in this instance? If she's not cool with being pranked, as she thought she was, why do you want her to give a gleaming review of what was being put in her mouth? This was a dumb setup, you got backlash, people tried to play it off, but you didn't let it go. You're an asshole in this situation, man. Now in the comments, Sidefresh says, "You're the asshole." So you didn't tell her that you cooked it, you made her taste it with her eyes closed and give you her honest opinion, and then you kicked her out because you didn't like her honest opinion? You absolutely set her up, in a manner that appears to be very childish. Brother-in-law is the real problem here. Do you really think mother-in-law couldn't figure out that she was eating OP's cooking at OP's house, where she went for a family dinner? Was there really other logical conclusions she could have come to of why they blindfolded her to eat lasagna, with people who know that she doesn't like OP's cooking giggling all around her? Honestly, I would have no frickin' clue what was going on. I would have the exact same reaction that she did, which is fear that they were trying to prank me with some nasty food. And once that's on the table, anything else is also on the table. It's a pretty strange situation to be persuaded into having a blindfolded taste of the dinner you're supposed to eat soon anyway, so I'm not really surprised she thought something was up. Tibble-Tab says, "You're the asshole. You did a blind taste test. She didn't like it. That's allowed. Not everyone is going to like your cooking. Setting someone up and then getting mad is not okay." And edit to add, it honestly doesn't matter who ran the taste test. Mother-in-law isn't impressed with the food that OP cooks. Not everyone will like everyone else's cooking, nor do they have to. This is still a case of a major overreaction. OP didn't have anything to do with the taste test. Not the asshole OP. One Mike Nation says, "You're the asshole." I see a lot of people saying not the asshole, but from what I get from this is that you all decided to trick your mother-in-law into admitting to liking your cooking by having her taste it blindly. But when that backfired and she still says she doesn't like it, not knowing that you made it, You got upset and kicked her out. Can it be possible you're just not as good of a cook as you think you are? Info. Did you agree to the blind taste test? Because it seems like you were both set up. Your mother-in-law had no idea that it was what you cooked for dinner. She said that it tasted like frozen lasagna. Not because she was insulting you, but because they asked her what it was. Your husband demanding an apology seems unfair of him because he knew what his brother was doing. If anything, this proves that your mother-in-law doesn't dislike you. She just doesn't like how you cook. It doesn't mean that she should be rude about it, but she wasn't this time. She had no idea that it was lasagna that you made for dinner. And OP replies, no, I didn't. But did your husband? And OP replies, no. So it seems like you and your mother-in-law were put on the spot. You didn't agree to this, but you and your husband did not stop it, which you could have. Your mother-in-law did not know that it was your food, so there was nothing directed at you. Your brother-in-law set a trap and you walked into it. You both are wrong. He shouldn't have done it in the first place, and you and your husband got angry at the wrong person. Our next post is by user Sage Ruit, titled, Am I the asshole for telling my daughters that I made a mistake by choosing to stay in their lives? So my ex-wife and I got divorced 14 years ago. It was due to infidelity on her part. Our daughters were 9 and 7 at the time. Now, the divorce was messy. She moved in with her affair partner and ended up with primary custody. I got every other weekend. It was a disaster from the start. The kids did not respond well to the changes. I tried to have a good co-parenting thing going, but little did I know that my daughters were being turned against me. They would be angry and sullen each time they would visit and refuse to talk about what was wrong. Tantrums, screaming, cursing became the norm, and that's when they were not totally withdrawn. They were being fed complete lies about me, how I didn't love them, how I was going to leave them for another family, etc. It didn't improve with time. In their teens, they cost me 2 very serious relationships with just the most venomous behavior. They didn't even want to visit me anymore, but I insisted that they do. I don't know if that was a mistake or not. And they pretty much cut me off when they turned 18. The only time they'd visit was to ask for money. I thought things would improve as they got older and saw through all the lies, but sadly it hasn't. I think it never will. I'm just done at this point. At the start of this year, they'd come to my house to ask for more money. When I refused, they yelled at me again and said they wished I wasn't their father. Something broke inside me, and I told them I wish I had just walked away from them, that if I hadn't stayed in their lives, maybe I would have an actual shot at a happy life. And maybe they would too. They looked shocked and then screamed and cried and left. No visits, no phone calls, nothing. It fills me with incredible guilt, but I almost feel relieved that they're not around anymore. It was a terrible thing to say, but I can't help but feel like there was truth in it. So am I the asshole? I feel like I don't have enough information to go off on this one to give a proper judgment. At surface value, to yell at the kids like that when they're adults, I know I feel like it's a mean thing to do, but it's not wrong. I guess I'm gonna have to give a not the asshole judgment for this one. I don't know where you go from here. Now in the comments, Undisclosed Bird says, not the asshole. Tragic, but not the asshole. I wish you can find something that gives you happiness though. It's unfortunate that one person's hatred can victimize 3 people so much. It's a real shame that the daughters are continuing to victimize themselves. 5 people, if you count the 2 failed relationships too. Terrible situation, but not the asshole overall. Look, I dislike it so much when a parent feeds lies to kids about the other parent. When the other parent actually wants to be a good parent to their child. I'm sorry you went through that, OP. If it helps, I heard writing a letter to your kids about all the things from your perspective. The cheating, the way you wanted more custody, how they were fed lies, how they ruined 2 major relationships because of the lies they were fed by their mother, and just let them know that when you said you wished you walked out of their life and that their only reason for visiting is just about money and saying they wished you weren't their father, hurt you horribly, and something just snapped. Then it is your choice to send it, and their choice to either read it or throw it away. It can also be in text or a message form if they didn't block you. Then see if they want to reach out and actually start a real father-kid relationship, with an apology and not asking for money. I hope you do well in your life from now on, OP. Good luck. Salt Contribution 2172 says, not the asshole, no doubt. Very common. I used to think fathers that walked away were deadbeats. Now I know most don't stand a chance if the mother decides to demonize him. My mum tried to do that with us, just subtle things to make us dislike our dad. The thing is, I'm autistic. I don't do subtle, so it never worked on me. And Dell's Magic Fishies asks, info. You're gonna need to walk us through the steps you took to get custody, the attempts you made to go to the court for the parental alienation, and how family therapy went. If like 51% of divorced fathers, you agreed that your wife should have custody and never pursued anything else, even when she was supposedly damaging your relationship with your children, then you're the asshole. Yeah, I suspect missing reasons on this one as well. I dated a guy that had almost this exact story. He painted himself as a tragic, wronged figure whose children rejected him, and over time it trickled out that he did some pretty screwed up crap to his family before and during that divorce. I'd be interested in hearing the other side of this one. I have a female friend who just opened up a family law practice dedicated to helping wronged fathers because she dated a man who she felt was wronged by his ex-wife by the courts. I did family practice for a few years and have found that not to be the case 95% of the time. Her firm had been open for about 6 weeks now, and it has been a hilarious cavalcade of every stereotypical deadbeat scenario for her. Like, I made her a bingo card with all of them as a joke. Folks love to throw around parental alienation when they really mean, X stopped covering up for my bad behavior. I mean, just look at married couples. Even in most happy marriages, statistically speaking, most men do significantly less than 50% of the childcare, when there is absolutely nothing preventing them from pitching in equally. And then we're meant to believe that the majority of divorced dads are trying their hardest to get 50% and being pushed down by an unfair system? The plain truth is that the majority of fathers have the custody they have because they never once asked for more. Statistically, fathers who ask for more custody get it, unless there are extenuating circumstances or the children are old enough to decide who they want to live with. I really question how he ended up with only 2 weekends a month. And our next post is by user Summer Job Kid, titled, Am I the asshole for not getting a summer job and still expecting allowance? So my parents were really pushing for me, 16 male, to get a summer job this year. I chose not to, instead deciding to volunteer at our town's historical society. It's super close, so I can literally walk there. I really enjoy working there because I'm always learning new things about our town and about preserving historical materials, and because I enjoy talking with people who do come in. It also got me interested in becoming an archivist. About twice a week, my history teacher will volunteer too, so it's nice to get to see a different side of him than I usually do in class. Unfortunately for me, my parents have a rule where over the summer, if I want to buy anything, I need to make the money myself. For whatever reason, this also means that I also have to pay them a small fee once a week to even just watch to use the television, which I haven't been able to pay for over a month. This rule has been there since my older brother, 20 male, got his first job at 15. Since my sister, 16 female, has a job, she has money to do what she wants, even though I spend way more hours a week working than her. My parents have said that they would give me an allowance if I did an internship or something like that, yet they won't consider giving me an allowance for what I'm doing now. At dinner, I got into an argument with my parents after I suggested that they give me an allowance. They told me that volunteering at the Historical Society isn't something that warrants one, and that I should stop being lazy and either get an internship somewhere or get a job. I told them it was unfair even though I work more than my sister does. They won't even let me watch television. They explained to me that working at the Historical Society doesn't teach skills that will be valuable to my future, and called it a glorified hobby. I told them that what they said was a load of crap, and then they started yelling at me. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, everyone sucks here. Get an actual job if you want things, but them not letting you use the TV is weird and controlling. This is kind of an important lesson about the world. Some work is paid more highly than others. If you love something but also don't want to starve, sometimes you have to do the thing you love in your spare time and get a normal job to pay the bills. If you love history, that's fun, but it's not a big field and is especially hard to break into and earn money in right now. Maybe cut back your hours and get a part-time job. You can't expect other people to pay for you to do your hobby. Another important lesson in the world is that once he's an adult, between work and school, he will be working for 40 plus years. Let him enjoy his last couple of years of freedom doing something he likes. Yeah, maybe he can't ask for money, but he also shouldn't be punished, e.g. no TV, because of it. Yeah, the TV thing seems way overly harsh on the parents' part. It's not as if OP is sat on his ass, vegetating all day. He's volunteering and learning useful skills whilst doing it. Maybe a compromise is that he gets an allowance and is allowed to watch TV for doing a few chores at home too or something. That would seem like a fair outcome. Although I'd just let the poor kid watch TV without charging him. Seller Nick says, everyone sucks here. Those are harsh rules, and I think making you pay for using stuff in the house normally free is BS. But the problem is with the expectation of money. You can't do that, especially not at your age. I disagree with your parents that volunteering isn't teaching you valuable skills, but you knew about the rule and you didn't follow it on purpose. I'd argue that volunteering and an unpaid internship carry the same weight. They're both unpaid labor that teach skills and look good on college applications. If the parents set the expectations that such unpaid work would receive an allowance, it's pretty reasonable for OP to push for volunteering to qualify. I actually think that an internship would carry more weight. An intern is there to impress and to learn about the work world and are managed like a low-level employee. Volunteers are there doing you a favor and are managed in relation to that. The expectations are different. And while the OP may be putting a lot of work in, it's easy to do minimal work and still list a volunteer gig. Not if you want to be an archivist or librarian. In my country, most of the librarianship programs require you to have a year of volunteering experience in a library before you can take it. It would also look great on a college application if you were majoring in history or similar. And if OP uses them as a reference, then they can verify how much work he's doing and at what level. And Proud Boomer says, everyone sucks here. Your parents are a bit too strict to get out of being assholes. Charging for TV? I'm a grouchy old dad and I didn't even do that. As for you, you approached it all wrong. Telling your parents they're full of crap is not advice given in how to win friendships and influence people. List your duties as a volunteer, actual skills that you're learning. Look up the job skills and knowledge needed to be an archivist. What degree is needed, what is the potential income, and what does the job market look like? Talk to your supervisor and teacher about making this opportunity an actual internship or capstone project for your senior year. You want credit for working hard? Show them the path you have laid out. Be polite and apologize for the crap comment. Let them know that they got through to you and you'd like to share your thoughts in a polite conversation. Anyway guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you did like it, tell me what you thought about it down in the comments below, and make sure to just interact with everyone in this community. I love each and every one of you that I get to see on a daily basis. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon subscriber, I love you. You're on the screen right now with the YouTube members as well. If you see yourself, give yourself a pat in the back. You guys help me continue this YouTube journey. You keep me going. I see you guys everywhere. I see your messages, and thank you so much for supporting me. I really love every single one of you. But with that all said, I'm going to be signing off now, guys. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.